everybody. Thanks for joining us for our junior edition of the beginning of our Outdoor Basics series. So this is just going to be step one of our, at least next week, maybe the week after, kind of outdoor skills series. My name, for those of you who have not met me yet, my name is Kelly Red Campbell. I'm the outdoor program specialist with the Girl Scouts of Central Maryland, and I'm the camp director for Camp Conowingo.
Hi guys, my name's Megan Taz Campbell and I work with Girl Scouts Nation's Capital. I'm the camp director for Camp Winona. We're my own name tag today, guys.
Awesome. All right. So today we're going to do a couple different things. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to make our solar ovens. Unfortunately, the weather didn't cooperate with us as much as we would have liked, even though we did double check. But tomorrow it's supposed to be super duper sunny. So we're going to make our solar ovens today, and then maybe tomorrow we'll actually get to use them. So we would love to see pictures of what you guys actually are able to cook inside your solar ovens. Once we make our solar ovens, we're also going to do a little knife safety, and we're going to talk a little bit about fire safety, but we're not going to go super in depth because that'll be another part of the series. And we're actually going to make fire starters for whenever you guys are actually able to kind of build a campfire, either on a camping trip, or maybe you guys, similar to us, you can see it in our backyard, we have a fire pit. So if you're able to use it there, that would be awesome as well. All right, so first up is our solar ovens. So what we're going to do is, Taz and I are actually going to try and make two different solar ovens. And if I'm honest with you, I've never made a solar oven before. So I'm doing it for the first time with you guys. All right, so forgive me if we're a little hesitant here and there on the steps, okay? So we're going to make two different ones. We have our pizza box solar oven, which is generally what you'll see if you look online. And then Taz, what kind of solar oven are you making?
So, because not everybody orders pizza like we do, we're going to make a solar oven just out of a bowl. This one's going to be good for making things like marshmallows. Because what Girl Scout doesn't want to roast? Marshmallows. So, we're going to make this one after that one, because this one's way more detailed. Yeah. So, we'll set this aside.
All right, so for our supplies for our pizza box solar oven is obviously number one, a pizza box.
You could potentially maybe use a large shoebox instead.
I don't see why you couldn't.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. All right, you also need some aluminum foil. We have some saran wrap, cling wrap,
clear
wrap, whatever you want to call it. We all know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. We have our box cutter, which we need to be super careful with, and if need be, ask an adult for assistance. Okay. We have our black paper. This is ideal, but not necessarily required. Your solar oven will still work without this in case you don't have it. In fact, as of 5 minutes ago, I didn't think we had black paper, but we do. And then you'll also either need some form of tape or glue, depending on which way you want to go. We're going the tape route, as we actually, in fact, do not have glue. But, so our first step for our box oven is, and you can use a measure or a ruler for this if you want. We're going to kind of freehand it and see how it goes. But about an inch in from either side, so I'll hold it up. So an inch in from the side on the right, an inch in from over here, and then what you would normally pick up as the top, we're going to go an inch in is there. We're not going to do anything to the top up here because that's where our hinge is going to be, okay? So Taz is going to freehand a nice line for us. Super duper straight.
I know.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to make cuts on 3 of these lines, but this one up here is just for guidance purposes, okay? Excuse me. Here we go.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay, 1. 2. Rotate my box.
So I'm sure you guys noticed I moved off screen. I did that because when you're doing things with knives, you always need to have a circle of safety. So I moved out of red circle of safety.
Okay. All right, so we're going to put our box cutter in, lock it off because we don't need it anymore. So now what you guys will notice is that in my pizza oven, once I open it up all the way, we can then hinge it in the back where that other line is, okay? And now we have our opening. right? So this is important for us. So our next step is that we're going to put some foil on this top part up here, okay? And then we're going to attach it on the back.
Now, Red, does it matter if it's the shiny side or the non-shiny side?
Great question. What's the answer?
The shiny side you want to face down towards your box.
So you see this is my shiny side. You can see a little bit of a difference. This is a little duller. So we're going to put our dull side on the top like this, and then we're going to wrap it around. This is where it kind of calls for glue. You could glue this tin foil down instead of taping it, but again, we're just going to tape our edges.
Oh, I think we might need to make a little pull tab.
You need a pull tab.
To pull your lid up.
Gotcha. Alright, so again, all we've done is we've attached our tin foil to the top of our lid, right? So we can get some nice heat conductivity in there. And Taz very smartly added a little pull tab for us, because if this is down, as if we're cooking like in a normal oven, how would we get it up? So we got a little pull tab there now. Alright, so our next step is we're going to put a window in our oven. So that's what the cling wrap, saran wrap, whatever it is you want to call it, is going to come. And what most things are going to tell us is that we're going to need two pieces of similar size. One goes on this side, and then one goes on the back side, okay? And we'll attempt to demonstrate the best of our ability. Let's turn this way. Woo. You want some scissors?
No. Okay, so let's attach this one and then do the next one.
Okay.
Okay, so the cling wrap we have isn't wide enough to go over our hole, so we're actually gonna have to use 4 pieces of cling wrap. But we're gonna go ahead and attach this one, this little box tab. This is where our buddy really is helpful.
We gotta come all the way under our.
Okay, there we go. Okay.
Everybody, that's our dog Bullet, in case you just saw that blur run across the screen.
He's a puppy, so he's probably having his afternoon zoomies right now. You know, when you gotta zoom around. Okay. Now we're pulling it nice and tight. I know you can't see what we're doing, but we're pulling it all the way up to the seam where our small lid meets the box. So here. And then we're taping it on the side, so you can see that example. Come on, everybody, let's go inside. Come on, inside.
All right, so gentlemen, can we go inside? All right, we can. So, as mentioned, so you might be able to see that our screen doesn't quite finish here. So we're gonna have to put another spot or another saran wrap there. Okay. So we'll get one more piece out for our top. right, so now this time we want to make sure we're coming all the way to the edge up top.
So we're going to make sure we tape it on the front too to hold it in place. Goodness. Oh, some sun.
All right, now, it may not look super pretty, but so we have our first window. We'll bring it a little closer so you guys can kind of see maybe what's going on here. So again, we got our tin foil up top, and then we've got our window here so that you can still see Taz, right? Which means we'll be able to see our food when it's cooking. So we have our first layer in, so we're going to put our second layer in, which is just the window in the bottom. And then again, we're just going to tape it. This, in fact, does call for tape, whereas you could glue your tin foil. You definitely can't glue, well, I shouldn't say definitely, but I don't think you'll be able to glue very successfully our saran wrap.
All right.
You want to do a second piece, or do you think it's okay?
Well, the directions said 2, didn't it?
All right, it says
Okay.
2 full pieces.
All right.
All right, so make sure you're getting it in there nice and tight. It just helps keeping all that heat inside once we get to that point.
So you put the tape on the box instead of just the wrap.
Yes, also a good point. Make sure we're still in view.
Okay. All right. This is the most checkered box plastic wrap ever.
Okay.
Okay, friends. So now you can see we take the inside as well.
Okay.
Hi.
So then our next step is we need the aluminum foil again. Foil. Okay. And this time we're going to do the bottom of our box. So where you see all the pizza grease stains and kind of up the sides a little bit, we're going to do our tin foil there to kind of help when we heat it all up.
And this time you want to try and make sure you get it in like wrapping a present for Christmas. So get it into your box and make nice creases so it frames the whole box.
Okay, now, if you wanted to, you could tape that down, but I'm going to say that we don't currently need to. And then again, this is where our black paper, I don't think I'm in screen, sorry. And then this is where our black paper is going to come into play. So as you guys know, if you're outside in the summer, or sometimes even in late spring, if you're wearing those dark colors, those black clothing, you start to get really, really warm because black and dark clothing actually attract the heat. You can feel it a lot more, so that's why we're going to put our black paper down in the bottom of our solar oven, is to really draw that sunlight so we make sure that it gets even warmer. And there's no particular way to do this. You just want it to be covered. And then we'll do one more piece. I'm gonna fold this one hot dog style. Oh, didn't fold it very hot dog style that time.
Just okay.
Alright. So again, I'm going to pick this up just a little bit so you guys can see it. So we've got our black bottom in there so that we can, in theory, cook something. Now, Taz and I had planned to make some like cheesy nachos in here. And while we do have some sun right now, we don't actually know how long it's going to last. So like we kind of mentioned in the beginning, we're not actually going to cook in our awesome, very duct taped new solar oven today. As I speak, the sun starts to go away, so that's good timing. But we are gonna attempt to cook in it tomorrow, have no fear, and we will post a picture of our cooking and hopefully, fingers crossed, our success. I know I saw a comment from somebody on the screen where it said that you guys made one of these last week, which is awesome, but that the food didn't turn out really well, which is not as awesome.
Yeah.
But we're not successful every time at everything we do, and maybe tomorrow Taz and I also won't be successful, but we're still gonna give it a go. Now, the other thing we need to know about our solar ovens is that when we are cooking in them, and we've got everything closed, we also wanna find, oh, this one's probably good, a stick or something if you need be, because we want to try and reflect some of our sunlight down into our solar oven. It's not just going to come from direct. So wherever that happens to be, we then, maybe this one's not long enough, we then want to prop open our lid, kind of like that. If it needs to be at a different distance, you can move your stick around, and then that's why we have this nice, awesome saran wrap window so that we can see in and see how our food is cooking. Now solar ovens aren't going to get super hot, so you're not going to cook like a foil dinner in here where you're cooking like chicken and vegetables and things of that nature. Solar ovens are more for melting things or like slightly warming them up. So let's say we wanted to make a pizza bagel or the nachos that Taz and I are going to try and cook, or even maybe we wanted to melt our chocolate and our marshmallow for our s'more. We could do that potentially in our solar oven, but we're not going to make huge meals in our solar oven. But hopefully that all made sense, and you guys now have awesome, similarly greatly duct taped solar ovens, and that we'll see pictures of them maybe today. Maybe you have more sun than Taz and I have right now, which would be awesome, and we're super jealous. But at least tomorrow, when it's supposed to be very, very sunny, we'll get to use this solar oven. And now, for those of you that don't have a pizza box, we're gonna do our bowl solar oven.
All right, so because solar ovens don't get too hot, you could use a plastic bowl. But if you have a Pyrex bowl or a large glass bowl, that's really best. So that's what you want to use. We used our Pyrex bowls earlier to make a different solar item. So what you want to do is you take your bowl, and then you take your foil. Whew, pull it out. And again, shiny side up, we're going to put it in our bowl. And just line the entire bowl. Try to make it as smooth as possible. I did not do a very good job. So we'll go over with another layer. So we're shoving it in and lining our bowl like that. Try a smaller piece. Maybe I can get it smoother with a smaller piece. Okay.
Smoother with a Pyrex bowl.
Yeah.
Harder surface.
Yeah. All right. So what you can see now is I've made like a giant mirror inside. And you can do 2 layers of foil if you want. Again, you want to try and make it as smooth as you can. You can see I did not do a good job with smooth. And then what we want to do is when we do have sun, and we'll show this one again tomorrow, you want to try and move it around until you find the best spot that the sun is reflecting. So noon is probably your best time of day, maybe between noon and 3. And when you put it down, you find the best spot it's reflecting. Set your hand in so you feel it getting a little warm. Not too hot, everyone, just a little warm. And that's the best spot to cook in. So depending on the time of day, it might be this spot or this spot right there in the center. It could be any of those. And we'll show you how to cook in that one tomorrow. But it's really easy. You don't have to have a box, just a bowl and some foil.
You don't need a lid or anything?
No.
Oh. Awesome. All right. So now that we've made our 2 versions of solar ovens, depending on what materials you might have on hand, we're going to talk a little bit about knife safety, which I know Taz touched on at the beginning when I was using the box cutter. And then we're actually going to make we're going to make one fire starter with our knives to practice knife safety. Because fire starting is a great skill to have, and sometimes we need an assist if it might have rained recently like it did last night. And everything is a little wet, right? So for this activity, we have some parchment paper
or
wax paper, whichever one you may or may not have in your house. We have a couple different versions of knives. We have our butter knife, which you can see here. We have a sharper kitchen knife, which still has on its cover. And then we have a vegetable peeler. And I know you're thinking, well, vegetable peeler, that's not really a knife. But it does have a sharp edge and actually can be used to practice our knife skills before we're ready to kind of merge up to actually having a knife and using it around the campfire, okay? So, a couple of things about knife safety. Again, Taz mentioned we want to have our safety circle, okay? So if Taz and I were both camping and we were both working with knives, we want a pretty safe distance between us, about arm's length, so that if I was holding a knife, I couldn't touch Taz and we couldn't injure each other, okay? Or maybe if we're sitting at a picnic table, we're on opposite sides of the table, so that the table kind of would prevent us from potentially injuring someone else, okay? So that's the first and foremost thing in terms of knife safety. Something else that you're going to want to consider is the direction in which our knives go, okay? So some of you might be familiar with a term that's called whittling, which is what you would use a knife and like a stick for, or if you were creating an object out of wood, okay? But the key here is that we always want to be going away from ourselves, okay? So if I was whittling a stick, I'm going to pick this one up off the ground, okay? If I was whittling this stick and I was coming in this direction, like towards myself, the danger there is obviously first and foremost my hand, but obviously it could be in any portion of my body, which is definitely not something that we want to do. That would very quickly ruin a camping trip and our Girl Scout experience. Yeah. So we also we just want to make sure we're going away from ourselves with whatever it is we're doing. I think one of the most common forms of whittling that probably happens around a campfire is when you find the perfect length s'more stick, but it's just a little too fat, it's a little too wide to get that marshmallow on. You can actually whittle it into a smaller point, kind of like, see how this one has a point on it, and then we can get that perfect marshmallow on it to get either the golden brown or the dragon-fired burnt one, depending on your preference. So that's probably our most common form of whittling that you might encounter. What else should we know about knife safety?
Oh, so if you're going to use a knife, you should probably make sure that you take care of the knife appropriately. So there is always better to use a sharp knife instead of a dull knife. So this butter knife isn't really sharp. You're not going to hurt yourself with it. But you can see that like our butter knife has a bunch of little teeth on it. I'll bring it up to the camera maybe show you. It has a lot of little teeth on it. And these little teeth can actually make a really bad cut. Whereas this, with its nice smooth blades, will make a nice easy cut if you cut yourself. But we're going to work really hard on not cutting ourselves. Another thing that you need to know about knife safety is how to pass a knife to somebody else. So I don't want to just go, hey, Red, and maybe hit her with the knife. Instead, Red's gonna ask for the knife.
Taz, may I use your knife?
Yeah, you can use my knife. I'll put it right here for you.
Thank you.
Great, and that's the safest way to pass a knife. If we were using a jackknife or a pocket knife, a Swiss Army knife, and I wanted to let Red borrow it, I would close it and then pass it to Red. and we're going to use this one because it has a top on it. And I wouldn't let go until Red said,
I got it.
great. Then I know nobody's going to drop a knife. Nothing's going to happen. We know Red has it for sure in her hands. So before we start making our fire starter, we should probably practice how do we use a knife.
Okay.
So let's pretend in your right hand or left hand, you're holding your knife, right? And then let's pretend we're holding our item that we're going to carve. So maybe your stick. And let's practice moving away from ourselves down in nice smooth strokes. Everybody got it? I'm sure you got it. Yeah, we got it. All right, cool. So now if your adults are around and they say that you can and they've given you the items, we're going to show you how to work with making a fire starter and practice your knife safety. So what you need to do that is you need one chunk of either parchment paper or wax paper in a nice long rectangle. Doesn't need to be specific. Let's say this one's probably 7 inches wide by the length of the actual parchment paper. And you want to lay that down nice and flat. Now, if you have this at home, which I think we sent out in the supplies, you want a candle. Nice tapered candle. Don't use a scented candle. Try and use an unscented candle. It could be that candle that your parents got gifted for Christmas that they don't want anymore. You could use that one. And then we're going to let's use a vegetable peeler because this is the best way to start. You're going to hold this candle down like that onto your wax paper and your vegetable peeler with a nice good grip, and you're going to move it down and away. You get little shavings like that. I don't know if they can see. Do you want to bring it closer?
Bring what closer?
I don't know.
Okay, so we're going to bring it closer because we're not sure if you can see it, and I'm sure I will drop the shavings in the meantime. So when Taz went away with the candle, we now have little wax shavings, which are going to be important for when we actually start a fire. Not this session, but later on.
All right, so I'm just going to keep doing that until I make a nice pile of wax shavings. And you don't need to push really hard. Just kind of move it down. Now say you're not using the vegetable peeler and you're using the butter knife instead. It's the same process. Hold it nice and sturdy in your hand and then just slide it down to make nice little shavings off the candle.
Every once in a while you probably want to flip your candle over because one end's going to get really fat while the other end is getting shaved down, and you just kind of want to keep it nice and even. It's easier to handle that way. Obviously, this is not a candle we're ever going to light because we're using it for this purpose. But just a tip of the trade in case you're making more than one, but you're using the same candle, it might be helpful.
Okay, and so another thing that I'm doing, but I thought maybe it'd be helpful to tell you, some people try and shave the candle like this. And you see that's not working very well. But you want to turn your knife at a little bit of an angle and then slide it. And see, it gets so many more shavings and a whole strip. So an angle works best. So we keep going till we have a nice mountain. So I probably need a little bit more.
She's feeling the pressure of being live on Facebook.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Okay, we're done. I broke my candle, and that's okay. All right, so we have a nice little mountain here. Everybody see my mountain? Okay, so this part is the hardest part. You thought the knife part was hard, but this part's the hardest part. So you want to take it and kind of fold it over your mountain, but not all the way. So if you can see, it didn't go all the way. Let me pull back here so you can see this better.
So we didn't go all the way to the edge is what she means. So we're just folding it over where we piled up our shavings, but we're not folding it basically in half is what we're getting
Now you
at.
take the other end and you fold that over till it meets the fold. So it's kind of a 3/4 fold. And then it's a nice skinny rectangle. And you can see all your shavings are in the middle. You can see them. And you want to take it and squeeze those together kind of like this. You see how it looks like a taffy? Then we're going to twist the end. Fold it and then twist the end a little bit. And do the same thing on the other side, but twist in the opposite direction. So I'm going to twist towards myself this time. And then just again this one, twist it a little bit that way. And basically we made a giant fire starter taffy.
Tootsie Roll.
Tootsie Roll works too. I don't really like Tootsie Rolls though. So saltwater taffy from the beach. ladies and gents, right here. And so the reason we use wax is the same reason we use wax in candles and in birthday candles to melt, is the wax on the paper helps extend the burning process, which gives you just a little bit extra when you're trying to start your fire. So after you guys make these, safely set them away until we talk about fire safety and fire building, and you have the ability to build a fire.
So again, we started with our solar ovens, which, as you can see, the sun's gone away already. So we're not going to cook in them today, but I promise you that we will cook in them, and we hope that you guys will too, and that you'll share those photos with us as part of this journey. And then we've made our fire starters, and while it's a little bit of a tease to kind of make fire starters but not actually get to start a fire, we want to make sure that we're stretching it out for you guys and that there's lots to talk about every single week, since we know that you guys are still home from school. So don't worry, we will in fact get to make fires if you have an appropriate place to do it. Not everybody does, right? Which is okay. You can still learn how without actually going through the process. But Taz and I will save our fire starter for that day, because again, we do have our fire pit in our backyard, so we can safely have a fire as long as there's not a lot of wind, and that we've kind of cleared it out appropriately. But we'll touch on that again a little later on. So next week we are going to do another live kind of outdoor skills where we're going to focus more on fire, and we're going to really touch on leave no trace, which I'm sure a lot of you are already super familiar with, which is awesome. One of the things that we're going to ask for you guys of next week, and we'll shoot out a few more details a little later on, is that part of the journey, or excuse me, part of the badge work and part of that journey that we're going to go through together is you're going to have to do a leave no trace skit
Song,
or poem,
performance, some
song.
kind of thing. Yeah.
And so while we haven't taught it to you yet, we just kind of want to put that seed in the back of your brain so you can start thinking about it, because we can't wait to see those after next week when we've talked about it. But just we want to prep out the creative juice so it doesn't seem like we're springing homework on you or anything like that. We just want it to be fun and enjoyable, and we really want to connect with you guys, and we can't wait to see those once we talk about them. But again, thanks so much for tuning in and joining us in our backyard for our part 1 series of outdoor skills, outdoor basics, and we can't wait to see you guys. Well, not really see you, but we can't wait to have you guys join us again next week.
We'll see them. Thanks. We're looking forward to your solar oven photos. We want to see them.